Welcome to Buffalo Main Event. Bob Gaughan along with Brad Ryder, and coming up on today's show, Brad and I will talk about the woes of the Buffalo Sabres, Turner Gill's chances of staying at UB, and we'll talk with Kevin Sylvester of the Buffalo Sabres. But Brad, we start off with the Buffalo Bills. The Bills win against Miami on Sunday, 13-10. By no means is it J.P. Lossman's greatest game as a Buffalo Bill, but they do get the victory. The question is, big game coming up against New England. Who's your starting quarterback?
It has to be the same guy. You're winning. You can't change things. There is this whole quarterback controversy thing that doesn't exist, that's just been kicking around. Things are going well. You keep a guy in. Lossman gets hurt. Edwards comes in. Things are going well. They keep him in. He gets hurt. Lossman comes in. Things are going well. You keep him in. To me, there's no question. You just keep on plugging with what you're doing. No, this wasn't his greatest game. Maybe last week was his greatest game. Maybe this coming week is his greatest game, aside from the fact that the Patriots are the opponent.
Was I the only guy, though, in the middle of that game that was calling for Edwards, or somebody else?
No, I think I'm the only guy who wasn't, to be honest with you.
I mean, he's 6 for 16 through three quarters, 4 straight 3-and-outs. That's not going to cut it against New England. This is not like they were playing the New England Patriots. They were playing the number 31 defense in football, and this guy looked horrible. So I don't think... I'm thinking I would change. I would go with Trent Edwards. He was horrible.
They're playing a team that's 0-9, and they've gotten to 0-9 by losing games exactly like they lost on Sunday. They came in 0-8. 3 times they lost by 3 points, including week 1 when they lost in overtime. This is what they do. They lost last week to the Giants. The Giants are media darlings at this point. They beat the Dolphins by 3 last week. This is how you get to 0-9. You just can't finish. We've seen Bills teams that just can't finish. This one's learning how to do it, and they're learning how to do it with J.P. Lossman. I keep him in there.
But why? Just move on. The guy's not going to get the contract at the end of the year. I mean, we're past that point, right? I mean, there's no way you give this guy the contract. Let's move on. We've made the decision on Lossman. I think we can make the decision on Edwards based on 7 games. You know, maybe he is. I'm not saying Edwards is, but I'm saying maybe he is, maybe he isn't. Let me just see the guy. And
let me see his second touchdown pass before I give him a long-term contract.
Right. Oh, no, without a doubt.
And one that's further than me to you. He's got 1 3-foot touchdown pass. Yeah. That's the guy we're talking about. Yes. That's the guy people are clamoring for.
Well,
3 feet of passing.
Usually, when there is a quarterback controversy, that means that there really isn't a good answer, and that
right.
very well could be the case.
That might be right.
Now. The second topic, of course, is that the Buffalo Bills are 5-4 on the season. They are in smack dab in the playoff race. Only 5 teams ahead of them in the AFC. Should the Bills fans consider this team a playoff team?
First, let's think of them as 5-5.
Okay.
All right, can we agree on that? I mean, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to hitting the parking lot right after this show and just waiting for the game. But there's not a real good chance they come out of this thing with a winning record. So they're going to be a team that's 500, 10 games into the season. That is a playoff contender. Welcome to the NFL in 2007. That's where you have to be. That's how good you have to be.
My contention is there's playoff contender and there's real contender.
Right.
And there's only really 2 real contenders, and that's New England and that's Indianapolis. Maybe throw in Pittsburgh as a chance as a third contender. But yes, you might be as good as Jacksonville and Tennessee.
Cleveland.
You might be as good as Cleveland.
Sure.
What does that matter, though?
Nothing.
You're not nearly as good as 1 and 2. So if you're not nearly as good as 1 and 2, you may be a playoff contender, but you're not really a contender for the Super Bowl.
I'll take it one step further. I think there's one contender in the league,
New England,
for the title. Yeah, and
anybody
can lose. Anybody can lose, so it could happen, but there's one team. I like San Diego better than I like Indianapolis. I like San Diego better than I like Pittsburgh. They haven't looked great. I know they won the other night. There's one team. I just want to see a game that happens in January for the Buffalo Bills sometime soon, and I think this has the potential to be the year. They're as close as anyone in that group to having that opportunity.
Moving to the Buffalo Sabres. Sabres' woes continue, now losing this weekend 2 games in last place in the Northeast Division. Is it time to panic?
It's not time to panic, but I'm wondering how often they're going to fill up that arena. I think the shine is off of the post-lockout Buffalo Sabres right now. And there's been a lot of attention given to that team. There's been an argument, or a discussion anyway, is this team going to compete with the Bills for attention? No. If they're great and the Bills are down, then yes, it is. But I think they're losing a great deal of their buzz. So it's not really panic time, but it's boring time. It's more than anything.
You know, it seems like they're losing the games that they won last year. There were
Sure.
a lot. People forget, that they started out 10-0. There were
They
a lot of
stole
close
half
games.
of those games.
Exactly. They were down in the third period.
Right.
They come back. There were a lot of close games that they came back. How many third period comebacks did they have? And it just seems like they're not getting those right now. So they're just a little off.
Yeah.
But without, without Rier and Drury, you wonder, are they going to have those third period comebacks this year? It just seems like they're just a little off, and they may be a little off all year long.
The way I see it, there are some very talented offensive players who haven't really gotten going yet, and by the end of the year, through 82 games, those numbers are going to come. Since they haven't come yet, they're coming later. This team's going to win a lot of games. This team's going to make the playoffs. This team's going to be scary for anybody it faces in the playoffs. But don't look for them to compete for the division. Don't look for them to compete, obviously, for the President's Trophy. They're going to score their goals. They're going to make the playoffs, but it's just a different vibe this year.
Yeah, and goaltending more important. I want to see Ryan Miller come up. I mean, I give him a little bit. His cousin passes away. Okay, sooner or later, you got to snap out of it. Mm-hmm. And he has started to snap out of it, but it just seems like, you're not scoring goals. You got to steal a game. I want to see him do what Roycroft did, and just absolutely steal a victory.
Yeah, I've always liked Ryan Miller. I think he comes at it with a great attitude. He was asked the other day about stealing a game, and he said, "Stealing? No, I'm not trying to steal. I'm trying to win." Yeah. And we're a team. We're playing together, and I just try to prevent as many as possible from going in, and I hope we score. I think he's got the right attitude, the right approach. I don't know that he's a great goaltender. I think he's very good and very solid. And that's what the Sabres have. They're not gonna. They don't need to upgrade at that spot, but that's what they've got.
You're absolutely right. He has played well of late, and hopefully that's what we're going to see in the upcoming future. Coming up, we're going to answer your questions from the website by the old email segment on Buffalo Main Event.